Hi, it's Clark on Temptress. Just got a big package in the mail today. Someone asked me to review an electric bike. I don't know whether that's right for sailing or not. I need to play with one a bit. On the positive side, I have a friend in the Dominican Republic that has a very similar electric bike. He travels all over on it. It is a wonderful thing, but I've used it. I've never picked it up. I don't know how heavy it is. I don't know if it's going to be practical on a boat. This video, we're going to look into this. It's a Drift.Slide electric bike, and I'm kind of excited. Let's take a look. A lot of bike. It's got some really big, wide, slightly knobby, but not too knobby tires. I think that's a good idea. The roads in places you go with a sailboat aren't exactly maintained like American roads. Even scooters that have like tires this big are very dangerous to drive at any speed. These tires, I think, would make the roads very manageable, even if it's bouncy. There's suspension, springs and shocks and such. Front and rear, yep. Well, let's cut a little more off. This one is obviously really kind of more motorcycle than bicycle, which is good. I've had bikes on my boat, actually, honestly, many times over the last 25 years. I took off with bicycles, went sailing, got down to Mexico. The roads were so bad, and in Mexico in particular, the traffic was so dangerous, we never rode a bicycle, like anywhere. We walked with backpacks. The only time we used the bicycle when I first left Seattle was down the west coast of the US. Used it all over San Francisco, places like that. But when I got out there, they just weren't up to the task. So gave them away to some kids, made some kids really crazy happy that day, and we were without a bike. Then many years later, basically another sailor that couldn't bear to throw away their bicycle said, "Will you take these?" So got another couple bicycles. I was with somebody else and she thought bicycling would be loads of fun. Now we're in the Caribbean. We rode them around a little bit in the Virgin Islands. We rode it until she got tired of riding the bicycle, and then we made some kids very happy. Well, I'm going to assemble it now, and I'm going to ride it around for a while and get a feel for it. Well, I've assembled the bike, about to take it for a little ride. Right off the bat, I can see a couple little problems, but I've written them and hopefully we'll get a solution for them. The display is unreadable in the daylight sun. It's just not bright at all. Hopefully that can be turned up. But the other problem is the manual describes all of that kind of stuff, except the manual is not for this display. They've changed the display. See nothing inherently wrong with this display as long as the manual was up to it. So I'm going to ask them for the instructions for this display, and well, we'll see how that goes. Anyway, let's try here. I'm going to put it in fourth, and off I go. Oh, I forgot to put up the kickstand. Good day. But it took care of it for me. It's got these tires that can go over sand, so I take shortcut. My actual road bike is, well, very narrow, very small tires, so you can stay on pavement. And felt absolutely assured riding across that sandy, open grass. I'm on a bit of lawn here because there's no bike path in this area, but it's a fine little thing to commute with. This is going to be great for those out islands with kind of crappy roads and such. I'm going to like having something like this to get around with. Can't carry a car, of course. Motors are a bit of a pain in the butt. Maintenance and everything. Where electric, as long as you can charge it, if you got a little extra solar panel, it'll get you where you need to go. Put a big backpack on, and that's usually enough groceries. I'm on a sidewalk now, and I find I don't want to go full speed even at 20. So, plenty of power. My very special friend Lila hopped on the back to see if two people could ride on this. You know, I was surprised, but it worked out just fine. She said she was comfortable, though she really does need foot pegs. I got on Amazon and I found a foot peg I think would be great, and also I think this bike needs a mirror. So this is a mirror that I use on my road bike, and it's a tremendous little mirror. Get those two things if you want to ride two up, for sure. Well, I'm taking it for a ride. Gotta say I like it. First off, how it operates. There's this display here. Honestly, the display is the only thing I don't like about the bike. It is just not bright enough, not by any standards. It's very overcast. I've been waiting for a clear day to finish the video, and sometimes the weather doesn't, help. But I can see it today okay. But in the bright sun, almost impossible to see it. That's bad because, well, it's the display. But it's not so terribly bad. I'll get into why the speed doesn't matter in a second, but the other thing you really need from the display is how much battery do I have? And down here, you've got a button. If you press the button, you get a display showing you the state of the battery. And, that's good enough. And it's right on the battery, so it's probably more accurate. How it works. It's got a little 5-speed transmission, derailleur, regular bicycle thing. It's not a great bicycle to ride as a bicycle, but you can get there. It's better than walking, definitely better than pushing it. But, it's got big, knobby, wide tires. It's fairly heavy, because of the suspension and just the fact that it has to be, because you can go quite fast. You can beat on this thing. It's definitely set up so you could ride it off-road, on, any surface. You could probably ride it in the snow as long as you were, really watching it. Anyway, that's not why you buy something like this. It's not to pedal as a bicycle, but it will pedal. On the other side here, you've got the display, and they have what they call gears. Now, gears is a silly word. It's speed limit. And if you set it for 1, it'll go a certain speed. I don't remember the numbers right now. 2 goes a little faster as its maximum speed on up. If you put it in gear 4, it'll basically go 20 miles an hour. I think it's 21 miles an hour. And that's really convenient. Gear 5 goes up to about 28.5, I guess, as, when the motor stops helping you. Well, I found riding it around at 28, it's just a little too fast. It's not a motorcycle. 28's moving along pretty fast to go around a corner with. Usually 20 is about where I ride my regular road bike when I go through corners, and I feel like I'm going pretty fast. So I think 20 is a good speed. So I set it for 20. It has a grip, twist grip here. Of course it takes off if I hit it. You could say, well, why not set it high and then just adjust that? Because then you're watching all the time, or you're going by the feel. It's almost like cruise control to say, go 20 miles an hour, and then just hold it wide open, and it's real easy, and you just go 20. It's easy. So that's how I like to use it. So I took a long trip at 20. Kind of always worried that I'm gonna get stranded, and didn't. Got back here, and then I just went around my block so I wouldn't get stranded, and went and went and went. It went over 30 miles before it started slowing down. That's plenty of range, really. The seat's just not comfortable enough to go more than 30 miles in a straight shot. So, yeah, I think it's mechanically what it needs to be. The brakes are okay, they're disc brakes. When you hit the front brake, which is your main brake, of course, it does compress the shock a little bit. That takes a little getting used to. And it's not the smoothest, it's kind of like a little jolt. But as soon as you get used to it and expect it, it's like not a problem at all. It's the first bike I've ever had with suspension like that. Let's see. If you're going along and you hit the brakes, it will shut the motor right off, so you don't have to worry about that. The motor can be set up to run off the throttle, the twist throttle, or only operate when you pedal. It just helps you along, so ride just like a normal bike, except it always feels like you're riding down a little hill. Or both, and of course I just set it for both. It's got lights. There's a headlight, and that's kind of always on as an indicator, and a tail light that is also a brake light operated by the brakes. Little switch here, and if you hit that, the headlight becomes much brighter, actually useful bright. It has a horn, which is probably important somewhere legally, but I think it's a great idea. I have a bell on my bike, and a horn is better. I think it's a great little bike. I think it's a great way to get around. Now, the big question, is it worth it to have one on a boat? That's a very personal question because it has limitations and it has tremendous benefits. You know, the range, I can't think of many situations where I would want to go 15 miles and do something and come back and wish I had a longer range than the 30 this has. That's a long way. If you're gonna go that far, you're probably gonna rent a cab or try to find a bus or something. So that's great. It's really a one-person bike, but I don't have anybody to test it with, but if you think you put a little couch pillow here and your passenger got on the back, it seems like it'll handle the weight. That might be a way for the two of you to get out to the grocery store or whatever. Of course, she'd have to wear the backpack. So that's a thought. But here's the downside. It isn't light. It weighs like 85 pounds. And at first, I'm thinking, well, that's just too heavy. I mean, you see the video of me getting it out of the box. It's really heavy. Of course, that was more awkward because of all the packing. The battery here pops right out. You drop a key in there, turn it, and out comes the battery. The battery weighs 10 pounds. So now the bike weighs 75 pounds. And I've been picking it up, I weighed it on a scale. I've been picking it up and flipping it around and deciding, and I think 75 is like exactly my limit for comfort. Your limit might be lower. Your limit quite likely will be higher, because remember, I'm still a little post-surgical here. I can certainly feel it when I lift. But I think I could get this into the dinghy and up onto the yacht. We're getting rain, so I'm going to finish this inside. We're going to my lab, and the rest of it, we're just going to talk. So I'm going to go in so my camera doesn't get wet. See you inside. Okay, out of the rain. You caught me a little mid-project here, but you'll see that in later videos. All right, back to the bike. So, 75 pounds, you could bring it on the boat. You can always use like a halyard and have your partner help. Just makes things more stable when you're trying to do that last bit of the lift. I think it's manageable. It's not gonna be pleasant, but it's manageable, which means if you're just gonna bop down to the store once and then get on the boat and sail away, well, you're gonna walk. But if you settle yourself in a place for a while, you don't really need to bring it back aboard the boat, Usually, once you're in a place, you know what the crime is like, and usually there isn't much crime. But, feel it out. Talk to other people that have valuable things they keep ashore. Usually where you land your dinghy is a marina of some kind, or, at least a public dock, and they kind of want your business, so it's usually not a problem. There's like a light pole or something you can chain it to. Think about this. If you pull the battery out of this device, it's virtually useless to anybody. You got to find that battery. Now, it's not like it's the only company selling the battery and, whatever, but if a local wants an electric bike, they're probably not in a position where they want to go out and buy a battery. Those cost almost as much as the bike. So pull the battery. You want to take it back with you to the boat anyway, because you want to charge it up off your solar panels for your next trip. And it's 10 pounds, no big deal. Maybe even get a little bag, just a garbage bag you can put it in so the dinghy spray won't get on it. Take it back to the boat, charge it up, in a safe spot, like, out in your barbecue, like I mentioned. And then next time you go, you take it with you. So I think that's what I would do, and that's what I will do when I go back to the DR and I get an electric bike, whether it's this one or another one. Been talking to friends. I have a friend whose son kind of really wants it. So for the hassle of shipping, I might get another one. Maybe I'll do another review if you watch this one. Reviews are nice for me because, of course, I get free toys. If you're going to put it on your boat, this is just over my years of having bicycles, which do rust very easily, get salt water on them. I would make myself a cover of some time. You could probably buy like a vinyl cover for a bicycle that would just go over the top. They sell all kinds of stuff like that because there's so many people in the world with bicycles. I would just make it something drops over the top, open at the bottom. You don't want to seal it up. The humidity is what's really going to mess you up. So leaving it open at the bottom, even if green water occasionally gets to the tires, is still probably better. I would get some very specifically Bow Shield. I'll put a link to it in the description. Bow Shield. It's a fairly expensive, but it lasts like forever spray. It's a wax. It's not all icky and messy like greases are. And if you spray Bow Shield, particularly on the derailleur, it would probably go a long way to keep it from corroding. Waxes are great because like if you painted some metal and you Bow Shield waxed some other metal, they would both be protected. But then you scratch them both, the painted surface is going to rust on the scratch, but the wax is going to reflow into that space. And waxes just work so much better than anything else, especially if you're going to run the chain over it, right? Can't paint that. So I would spray some Bow Shield on it. And then finally, let's assume that it's not going to last forever, because it's not. You know, nothing made out of metal is going to last forever in a marine environment. The battery is actually a battery you can find. I'm thinking about doing an electric conversion for my mother. She's 82 and she's not keeping up with the girls, but she's still out bike riding, but she's having a little trouble keeping up with the 50-year-olds that she goes out with. So I'm thinking about giving her, and I'm still looking, but maybe an electric front wheel setup. And if I do, I need a battery. So I've been shopping for batteries. Well, I've seen this very same battery and the same receiver available just on eBay and Amazon. It's 48 volt. So let's say this bike doesn't last as long as the battery, which is actually possible in this world because you may not be using it as much as other people cycling the battery and, you know, corrosion and everything. So at the end of its useful life, you could buy another bicycle just like it, and then you would have two batteries, which, you know, has advantages. And you could actually carry one of the batteries strapped onto the bike somewhere, and then you'd have 60-mile range. That's just like crazy. But let's say you didn't do that. You would have a good, serviceable 48-volt battery, and you could get yourself a 48-volt trolling motor, put it on your dinghy, and you've got a way to get around for a goodly long distance. I think that would be very interesting. So, you know, when the thing dies of whatever corrosion or whatever issues happen, I don't think its life is necessarily over. So to the right person, I'm going to say get one of these. They sell way more expensive bikes, and short of that speedometer I can't see in the bright sunlight, I really have no complaints about this one. Substantial. It's not, you know, my big V-twin motorcycle as far as going fast and feeling solid, but it's way more than any bicycle I've ridden for, you know, quality of the ride. I've gone off into grass. I've gone off onto other surfaces. You really don't even notice you've done it. So it's going to handle the rough ground and the slippery sand. You know, everything's sand here in Florida. Way better than a bicycle. So that's safer. And safe is good. Also, you know, if you're really exhausted, that's when you get in an accident. And with an electric motor, you know, if you have to get out of somebody's way, you're out of somebody's way. So I think it's a good way to get around. And I think maybe electricity has come to the point where we're ready to have it as transportation you can actually carry on your bike. If you like my videos, please hit the like button, you know, all that stuff. It really does help. And if you haven't subscribed, or just check, you might not be subscribed anymore. People are getting unsubscribed. Please subscribe. I'm kind of getting close to 100,000. Anyway, I appreciate any help you can give me. Bye from Clark on Temptress.